So I want to give a little background for people who may not be familiar with you. I've known you, I joined the industry in 1991, so I believe you're already at Sony by then. So when I joined the industry, you were also working with two other Hall of Famers, Larry Thorpe, who was in our first class, and Charlie Steinberg, who came in, I think, 3 years later. So I want to kind of start with a little bit of context. You with Larry and Charlie were really, from my standpoint, at the center of the HD, just that whole push and move. And you started in HD when? When did you first start playing in HD?
I joined Sony in 1988 through the very hard, convincing job of Larry Thorpe and Bill Connolly. You may remember that HD was first shown in Japan in 1982, and Japan was full blast into moving into high definition. And Sony was the pioneer in developing the production equipment, monitors and cameras and tape recorders. Then around 1987, Sony Japan decided to create in the US a company called Sony Advanced Systems under the Sony Broadcasting and Professional Group that we had in the US, dealing with the traditional broadcasting standard definition. Bill Connolly was the president of Sony Advanced Systems, and Larry was the VP, the technology guru to move everything forward. And they hired me as a technologist back in 1988. And the key agenda was to create the production format. One of the main agendas was what would be the production format for 1080, high definition 1080. And then ATSC came along, and Larry was head of one of the groups in the advisory committee. I was the signal processing guru in one of the groups. And that's it. For probably 6-7 years, we were pushing high definition in every aspect. And not only in broadcasting, but also the use of high definition technologies for education, industrial applications, medical applications. And as you know, in 1995, ATSC 1.0 was approved, and that was the beginning of the development or the deployment of high definition in the US. Larry, in his expertise, was pushing very aggressively electronic cinematography. That was his call to fame. I had a different set of expertise, more in compression, how to deliver high definition in compressed streams. But we all played together, and our big boss was Charlie. Charlie Steinberg was the president at one time of the Sony Broadcasting Group, and we all reported to him.
In general, I think what's fascinating is you've always pushed things, right? So you've always been pushing, and obviously the whole industry is pushing right now, right? With the cloud and the AI and virtualized software and hardware. What have you learned over the years as far as how to know how to push new technologies the right way? If you get what I'm saying, like HD, for example, people didn't always believe in HD.
That's a very powerful question, very, very interesting question. Remember, I work for a Japanese company for now 33 years, and I have learned to appreciate their vision, their goals in the long haul. You can push technology for cost effectiveness, to make the business more appropriate, to make more money, to create more production, or you can push the technology to really achieve the limits of what humans can appreciate. We knew for a long, long time the limitation of the human visual system, how many frames per second will be enough, what will be the gamut of colors. And this is why we had this evolution now from a standard definition to high definition, 4K, and eventually 8K. These are the boundaries of what we can really, really appreciate. But there are other boundaries, which are the boundaries of business. What technologies can really make sense to make more sense in terms of productivity, efficiencies, remote production, distributed content creation, resource sharing. And this is the reason more recently, especially in the US and in Europe, at the same time as moving to 4K, but as you know, in the US, we don't have that push for 4K, but more for 1080p. The push is for cost efficiencies, how to revitalize the broadcasting industry, how to make more with less, how to distribute processing. And to that level, this probably the US has been a leader in pushing the transition to IP. The IP production has been, to a large extent, the push of the US for that reason, to revitalize the broadcasting industry, to make more sense, more cost efficiencies.